There's a compact pickup truck rotting on used car lots right now that is a Ford Ranger down to the absolute last bolt. But because it wears a Mazda badge on the grille, practically nobody shops for it. That simple emblem variation alone drops the asking price by over $1,000. Over my 23 years of turning wrenches, I constantly see buyers blindly overpaying for famous nameplates while completely ignoring mechanically identical vehicles sitting right next to them in the very same row. Today, I am counting down 3 heavily discounted, badge-engineered, and frequently ignored pickups that you can scoop up for pennies on the dollar, because they are actually reliable. Snag one of these commercial clones, keep the factory fluids fresh, and you will effortlessly outlast the guy who just financed a brand new luxury truck. Let us dive straight into number 3. Coming in at number 3 is the profoundly obscure Isuzu I-Series pickup. If you have absolutely never heard of this vehicle, you are absolutely not alone. And that is exactly why it is the perfect budget hack. A few years ago, a young electrician named Mark was trying to desperately find a reliable first-generation Chevy Colorado for his new business, but clean examples were carrying a ridiculous $8,000 asking price. I jumped online and found him a 2008 Isuzu i290 sitting completely unloved at a small roadside lot for just $4,500. 5 years and over 140,000 hard work miles later, his biggest expense was a single factory blower motor resistor and a standard set of front brake calipers. The master secret here is that the Isuzu I-Series is a 100% direct clone of the Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon. Built on the exact same GMT 355 platform in the exact same General Motors factory in Shreveport, Louisiana. It utilizes the identical suspension geometry, electronics, and engines. The commercial market completely ignores them because buyers wrongly assume Isuzu pulled out of the American market and left 0 spare parts behind. What they do not realize is that everything underneath the hood is a mass-produced Chevy Atlas inline 4 or inline 5 engine. You get genuine low-end towing grunt, perfectly suited for daily job site work. But you are getting pure GM engineering without the inflated Chevy price tag. You buy every single replacement part directly from a standard Chevy catalog. Need a water pump, a replacement alternator, or basic brake pads? Grab it right off the Colorado shelf for absolute pocket change. When thoroughly inspecting one of these trucks, pay close attention to the factory ground wires located on the inner fenders. They frequently corrode and trigger phantom electrical issues, which is a common Chevy trait that is easily fixed with a cheap wire brush and 10 minutes of your time. This truck gives you legendary GM small truck utility at a steep discount. But it is not the only famous American truck hiding under a foreign name. Number 2 is the legendary pre-2011 Ford Ranger. It is the absolute, undisputed benchmark for compact truck durability in North America. A long-term client of mine operates a small commercial fleet of these purely for his remote land surveying company. He flatly refuses to buy newer vehicles because his oldest 1999 Ranger just cheerfully crossed 410,000 miles on the original engine and manual transmission. When other contractors mock him for driving outdated trucks with crank windows and cheap plastic interiors, he just smiles, knowing he hasn't had a single truck payment in 15 years. Those basic manual crank windows and analog locks mean he never wastes $300 at a dealership fixing blown internal door regulators. His only real shop invoices consist of routine clutch replacements, fresh spark plugs, and basic fluid flushes. The secret to this truck's massive lifespan is its utter refusal to conform to modern automotive complexity. When you locate one equipped with the 2.3-liter Duratec 4-cylinder engine, you are getting an unkillable timing chain, an incredibly straightforward fuel delivery system, and 0 disastrous active cylinder deactivation software. The manual transmission shifts like a heavy farm tractor, but that is exactly why it structurally survives decades of brutal, continuous abuse. The problem with the Ford Ranger today, however, is that the secret is officially out. Because everyone from teenagers to hardcore mechanics knows exactly how tough these little trucks are. Asking prices on clean models have slowly crept up. You can still easily find them in the $4,000 to $6,000 range, which is perfectly reasonable for a truck that outright refuses to die. But that iconic blue Ford oval on the grille now commands a noticeable premium in the used market. When inspecting a Ranger, always check the rear leaf spring shackles for heavy rust and listen for a harmless but annoying ticking from the hydraulic lifters on a cold start. It is an automotive cockroach that will effortlessly survive a nuclear blast. What if, however, you wanted this exact same unparalleled longevity but without paying the famous Ford tax? That brings us directly to the ultimate bargain on the global truck market. Number 1 is the Mazda B-Series pickup, the ultimate automotive disguise. This is the absolute smartest financial purchase an informed buyer can make today. A local residential carpenter named Steve urgently needed a backup work rig, but flatly refused to spend premium Ranger money. He thought his only option was a severely rusted-out minivan. Instead, I directed him to a local classified ad for a pristine 2004 Mazda B-3000 listed for an incredibly low $3,500. The seller heavily discounted the specific truck because he falsely believed it was an imported vehicle with discontinued, impossible-to-find Japanese parts. Steve bought it with cash on the spot. 5 grueling winters later, serving as his primary lumber hauler, his only repair was replacing a $40 factory thermostat. The overarching reason these phenomenal little trucks consistently rot on dealership backlots is due to massive badge ignorance. The Mazda B-Series from this specific era is literally just a Ford Ranger wearing a slightly reshaped front grille and different taillights. Even the interior dashboard plastics, the seats, and the factory gauge clusters are visibly identical. They utilize the exact same rigid chassis, the identical suspension layout, and the identical indestructible Ford engines. Whether you find one packing the ultra-efficient 2.3-liter 4-cylinder or the historically bulletproof 3.0-liter Vulcan V6, it is all deeply proven American iron. They were manufactured side by side with the Ranger on the exact same North American assembly lines. Yet, strictly because the hood displays a Mazda emblem instead of a Ford oval, the B-Series consistently trades for $1,000 to $1,500 less than its domestic twin. You literally get to drive away with thousands of dollars in savings just because the average consumer lacks basic automotive knowledge. Average buyers erroneously think they belong in an import salvage yard, completely unaware that you can walk into any auto parts store right now, ask the clerk for standard Ford Ranger parts, and bolt them directly onto this Mazda without a single mechanical modification. Beneath that sheet metal, you are securing an immensely proven, century-defining Ford architecture while aggressively sidestepping the mainstream popularity tax. When assessing a used B-Series, you look for the exact same flaws as the Ranger, verify the rear suspension mounts are fully intact, and carefully check the lower cab corners for classic winter salt corrosion. If you want the mathematically smartest, mechanically superior compact pickup investment a human being can make, buy the Mazda. You get 100% of the Ford Ranger's legendary reliability for a fraction of the overall cost, making it the undisputed king of overlooked bargains.